शाहरुख खान को आप उनके करियर के एकदम शुरू से आप जानते हैं। ये कितना कितना एक इम्पॉर्टेंट मकाम है शाहरुख खान के लिए इस फिल्म की कामयाबी को होना और इस तरीके से होना।
I think it was very important that he has a monster hit. We did not see Raj of Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. We did not see Raj Mathur of Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman. We saw Pathan. And I think that has basically been what Shah Rukh is all about. He doesn't let go. He's always been very clear that he will be the best in the world or not at all.
He did not make any other statements and he just let his work do the talking.
Shah Rukh does not react. You can do what you like, he will not react. He will respond at the right time in the right place, maybe, but he does not react. He used to. I remember when Stardust wrote something about Gauri, he went and tried to smash their windows.
Shah Rukh ne kaha that he owes his career to you.
Patthar Ke Phool was an unqualified hit. Sippy Saab wanted me to make another film with Salman and Raveena. But I had already met Shah Rukh, he was already living in my house. But at that point, he didn't want to do films. Gauri had said, you can't do films, you can do TV. You can't launch actors by putting them into films. Unless the film is not successful and profitable, the actor doesn't get launched. I told Mr. GPCP, I want to sign the boy. He refused. He said, of course not. We'll take somebody else. I don't think he's star material. I took him to Rakesh Roshan's office and Rakesh Roshan signed him for a small role in King Uncle. And then Rajiv Mehra, with whom I had made Gavahi, signed him for Chamatkar.
How do you rate him as a businessman?
Oh, he's the best businessman in the industry. The best.
In all these years, you went to Mannat only once. You've not met his children apparently.
Now I've been to Mannat twice. Once when I signed him for Raju, I didn't sign him, there was no paperwork, but when I went to meet him to do the film, at that time he made me meet Aryan, who was very young. 12 years ago. And then 4 years ago when I went to Shah Rukh's birthday party.
So over the years, he has had many friends from the film industry who have sworn by him and worked with him repeatedly. But when it came to his tough times, none of them, they really said anything publicly.
I think it goes beyond friendships into matters of principle. For heaven's sake, Aryan is a child. What were you all trying to do? He doesn't need to smuggle drugs. He doesn't need to do whatever you all were accusing him of. Now, when you know the boy is innocent, then it is up to you to shout from the rooftops that this boy is innocent. It has nothing to do with Shah Rukh. And I will not allow injustice to children. It's a matter of principle.
I've spoken to certain people and they have told me that he's very upset with the way media functioned.
Anyone whose child is misbehaved with is going to be hurt and angry and upset.
Juhi Chawla said that when you told her that he's someone who looks like Amir Khan, and you said that, and she said that
from where I told her he's fabulous, he's better looking than Amir Khan. I didn't say he looks like Amir Khan.
Okay, and she. Viveck Vaswani sir, pleasure having you with me on Connect FM Canada. I've been following your tweets and especially the way things have been in the last, say, 1.5 months, 2 months with regards to Pathan. आप शाहरुख खान को आप उनके करियर के एकदम शुरू से आप जानते हैं। ये कितना एक इम्पॉर्टेंट मकाम है शाहरुख खान के लिए इस फिल्म की कामयाबी को होना और इस तरीके से होना।
I think it was very important for Shah Rukh to have a big hit. I think it was very important that he has a monster hit, and it was just a question of it being the right film. I think he also reinvented himself completely. We did not see Raj of Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. We did not see Raj Mathur of Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman. We saw Pathan, grungy, wounded, old, tired, living on painkillers, but not letting go. And I think that has basically been what Shah Rukh is all about. He doesn't let go. And he's always been very clear that he will be the best in the world or not at all. He proved it with Adi Chopra by having the longest running film in the history of Indian cinema, Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. And now he's proved it by having the biggest Hindi film hit in the history of Indian cinema again. So I think the world will look to the two of them to have a hat trick of one more record to their names, which they will do.
Right. Pathan 2, I think, will maybe the answer will be the answer, maybe.
Oh, no, they will reinvent everything. I know that. They will reinvent everything.
So
Because
Vivek,
now Pathan 2, Tiger 2, War 2, Pathan 3, Tiger 3, War 3, they will all be monster hits. But there's always a cycle to these things. There's a cycle to a cop universe. There's a cycle to a spy universe. There's a cycle to a Rohit Shetty universe. These are cyclical. They last maybe even a decade. But if you want to really break records like nothing else in the world, then you have to reinvent all the time.
विवेक सर, शाहरुख की जो इससे पहले जो सबसे बड़ी हिट थी वो चेन्नई एक्सप्रेस थी, 200+ करोड़, और अभी यहाँ पर ये इंडिया में अगर सिर्फ बात करें तो 500+ करोड़ सिर्फ हिंदी ने करे हैं। ये 300 करोड़ का एक आई थिंक बड़ी छलांग है। क्या आपको ऐसा लगता है कि दैट ये जो एक हंगर जिसके बारे में आपने बात करी, एक जो भूख जिसके बारे में आपने बात करी, जो शुरू से उनके अंदर थी, उसको मे बी शायद कुछ लोगों ने शायद अंडर एस्टिमेट किया, बिकॉज पीपल वर राइटिंग ऑब्ituaries ऑफ हिज करियर एंड दैट ही इज डन नाउ एंड people will remember as Raj and Rahul. But do you think that he has reinvented in a way, in that in a huge way?
He reinvented in a very big way. I mean, if you look at Raj, London Return, pampered brat, rich boy, he wasn't a man, fancy cars, dancing, swimming. I mean, if you see Mere Khwabon Mein Jo Aaye, we saw Shah Rukh. This was a middle-aged, tired, defiant, but resilient spy. This was someone who maybe right through the film hadn't had a bath once. This was someone who was bruised and broken and tired and living on painkillers. This was a completely different persona. I don't think it may have worked with anybody else. It worked with Shah Rukh because Shah Rukh works with such conviction that you have to believe it. I mean, when I saw Zero, I saw him as a dwarf and I believed he was a dwarf. The film didn't work because they didn't want to see Shah Rukh as a dwarf, because he was too young to play old and too old to play young. He was at a phase where he had to reinvent. There was various things, but he tried. Dwarf was an experiment in a very big way. And he tried a little bit with Happy New Year. If you see Happy New Year, there was a stubble, there was a tiredness, there was a quality of, I'm getting old now, but I have a team of young people. All that was there. This broke the glass ceiling and went straight down. Of course, they underestimated him. They underestimated him when I made Raju Bandiya Gentleman. They underestimated him when he worked with a new director called Aditya Chopra and Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. They underestimated him when he set up his own production house. And if you see, I mean, when I made Raju, Aziz Mirza was the first-time director. When I made Dulha Mil Gaya, Mudassar Aziz was a first-time director. Karan Johar was a first-time director. Adi Chopra was a first-time director. Farah Khan was a first-time director. He's done some of his best work with first-time directors. He becomes a child with them and he encourages them while they encourage him. I've noticed it. So yes, when people write obituaries to stalwarts and legends, I think they are short-sighted and they should stop being short-sighted. Rahul Dev Burman gave his biggest hit 1942 after he was dead. They'd all written obituaries. But 1942 smashed records.
Definitely. Vivek ji, we'll come to Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman. I think that there's many amazing stories which maybe अभी तक शायद लोगों के सामने ना आई हो. लेकिन अगर हम बात करें कि जिन circumstances में पठान रिलीज होती है, एक तो उससे पहले जीरो के बाद में लोगों ने ऑब्ituaries लिख दी थी एंड एक बहुत ही एक कॉन्डिसेंडिंग सा, एक पेट्रोनाइजिंग सा लोगों का तरीका होता है कि राज एंड राहुल को याद करना एंड टू कीप ऑन पेइंग होमाज टू दैट, कि दैट इन द सेंस कि अभी इसके बाद तो कुछ होने वाला है नहीं टाइप्स. एंड जिस तरीके से वट एवर हैपेंड विद आर्यन फॉर एग्जाम्पल, द कंट्रोवर्सीज दैट हैपेंड विद द फिल्म, एक चीज़ की जो बहुत तारीफ हो रही है कि उन्होंने बहुत ही एक स्टॉइक सा स्टांस रखा and he just spoke to his fans and he did not make any other statements and he just let his work do the talking. आपकी नज़र में ये एक कितना एक important, I think, एक milestone है for a star like him with the sort of resistance that he faced.
Shah Rukh does not react. You can do what you like, he will not react. He will respond at the right time in the right place maybe, but he does not react. He used to. I remember when Stardust wrote something about Gauri, he went and tried to smash their windows. He did. I was there to take him out. But now, especially where Aryan was concerned, there was no reaction. When Zero didn't do well, there was no reaction. I think at some point, a man who's come from Delhi with nothing and has built a multi-billion empire doesn't really have to prove anything to anybody. So he goes his own way, doing his own thing, building his own companies, be it special effects, production, real estate, cricket, and he's doing what he does best, which is building empires. I mean, he is an empire builder. And yes, we should not underestimate people who are empire builders. The legend will live on long after the actor. We may not know him 20 years from now when he's nearly 70 as a star, though we may because Amitabh Bachchan is, but we will definitely know him for his achievements in the creative and media industries.
मैं एक इंटरव्यू देख रहा था आपका और एक शाहरुख के साथ में, और शाहरुख ने कहा है कि दैट ही ओज हिज करियर टू यू. बहुत ही दिलचस्प सी कहानी भी है कि किस तरीके से जीपी सिप्पी साहब को आपने जब पहले शाहरुख का के बारे में आपने बताया, फिर उन्होंने कहा कि विवेक मुशरान को लेकर आओ. विवेक मुशरान का आपने बताया कि 10 लाख रुपए मांग रहे हैं. फिर वो आमिर खान को चाहते थे, आमिर खान मना भी नहीं कर सकते थे बिकॉज द अंकल हैज़ वर्कड विद जीपी साहब. सो आमिर ने अपेरेंटली आपको आपको एक एडवाइस दी कि आप ऐसा बोलिए कि आमिर कह रहे हैं कि आमिर के पास करना चाहते हैं लेकिन उनके पास डेट्स नहीं है. जो दोस्त हैं उनको ये चांस मिल सकता है. सो इन अ वे शाहरुख like in a way he got benefited from Amir's I think act as well. How do you look back on all these things?
Patthar Ke Phool was an unqualified hit. Sippy Saab wanted me to make another film with Salman and Ravina. But I had already met Shah Rukh. He was already living in my house. But at that point, he didn't want to do films. Gauri had said, you can't do films, you can do TV. But his mother died. And he decided that he wanted to be a superstar in her memory. So he came back from Delhi after the funeral at 5 in the morning and said, will you make a film with me? I said, yes. He said, no, you have to swear it. If you're not going to make a film with me, I'm not coming into your house. Which I think was very sweet because where would he have gone at 4? So I said, of course I will. We put the bags into the living room. We went down to the President Hotel, which was just next door. And we sat in the coffee shop and Raju Bangia Gentleman was born. But you can't launch actors by putting them into films. Unless the film is not successful and profitable, the actor doesn't get launched. So we had to create a complete strategy. And the complete strategy was by making sure that the whole industry knew who he was. So I told Mr. GPCP, I want to sign the boy. He refused. He said, of course not. We'll take somebody else. I don't think he's star material. He sent me to Viveck Mushran, which is an interesting story. Viveck Mushran's secretary at that time was a wonderful gentleman called Madan Arora, who was Danny Saab's secretary. The office was in Kalumal Estate in Juhu. I went, Shah Rukh actually sat outside, and I sat with Madanji. Madanji said, I can't say no to GPCP, and you all have made Patthar Ke Phool. But I'm handling Vivek on behalf of Subhash Ghai, who's launching it. And Subhash ji says, 10 lakhs is the price we have to charge for Vivek. And Manisha Koirala. So I told Mr. GPCP that, and he said, go to Amir Khan. So I went to Amir. He was shooting for the Lux ad at Natraj studio. Shah Rukh was with me again, sitting outside. And Amir was wonderful. He said, I would love to work. I cannot say no to Mr. GPCP, but I don't have dates for a year, Vivek. If you're willing to wait for a year, I'll happily do the film. So GPCP was not willing to wait a year either. And then I met with Shah Rukh at Shashi Kapoor's party of Ajuba, Rakesh Roshan. I took him to Rakesh Roshan's office, and Rakesh Roshan signed him for a small role in King Uncle. And then Rajiv Mehra, with whom I had made Gavahi, signed him for Chamatkar. And word spread that stalwarts like Eagle Films and Sippy Films and Filmcraft, Rakesh Roshan, were interested in this boy. I had to keep myself out of it. Viveck Vaswani, Shah Rukh Khan is no news. Viveck Vaswani signing Shah Rukh Khan is no news. GPCP signing Shah Rukh Khan is big news. And then GPCP calls me and says, sign this paper. So I said, what is this paper? He said, you waive all your rights and profits to Patthar Ke Phool so that we can make Raju Bangia Gentle. So at that age, all the money that I could have made went down the drain. I signed it. I didn't tell Shah Rukh, otherwise there would have been a problem. And we went ahead. Other actors, Avinash Madhavan, Aditya Pancholi, Chunky Pandey, they were friends. All of them, we used to sit at either the swimming pool part of the Taj, not the Taj, opposite the Taj, the Sea Rock Hotel, where there was a dubbing studio of Pranal Mehta Saab. Or we used to sit at the coffee shop of the Holiday Inn, which is now the No Hotel. And they used to tell him, these are stupid roles for an actor. And he'd ask me. And I said, the strategy is very clear. Every film that you have signed is already sold. You have a solo hero film with Raju. If these films fail, you don't get the blame. If these films are hits, we'll get a better price for Raju. You don't sign actors because they're talented or because you have faith in them or because if you put them in the film, they will get careers. There has to be a clear-cut strategy. There was a clear strategy. The first Morat was Dil Ashna Hai, Hema Malini's film. The first shooting was King Uncle because Rakesh Roshan Saab was shooting for Khel in Kenya, which I was acting in. So he said, I might as well do a song with Shah Rukh and Nagma. So the first shooting was King Uncle. The first Morat was Dil Ashna Hai. The first film signed was Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman. The first release was Divana. Right. He was not launched with a film. He was launched with a strategy of business. And if you notice from that day to now, every decision of his has been a business decision. Not taking money from the stalwarts is also a business decision. He makes more money in the long run when the films, because of their low budgets, do bumper profit. Then he takes a share of the profit.
How do you rate him as a businessman?
Oh, he's the best businessman in the industry. The best. He's built businesses. He's built a real estate empire. He's built a special effects empire. Red Chilies. He's built a production house. He's running a cricket team. I have no clue what other things he does. But if you look at the balance sheet, it's profitable. And good businessmen make profits.
He did a cameo in Dula Mil Gaya for you as well.
It was a major role, but I didn't say cameo or special appearance. I went over with the script and I said, this is the script. This is the role. It's a Sushmita Sen film and she's playing this millionaire Trinidadian model. So someone who's in love with her, who's willing to give her the earth and the moon, has to be someone who looks, plays, acts, and is richer than her. There are very few people with whom I can cast as a billionaire. So I went to him. He didn't read the script. He said, you've come for the first time after how many years? I'm not reading the script. I'll do it. I said, that's a bad business decision. Read the script. Tell me how much you will charge. Take the money. He didn't want money from me. So there was nothing in writing. He just came, he shot, he went. But the film, a lot of people don't know. It failed. My father died in the middle of the film. My partners cheated me. Then when we were shooting finally with Shah Rukh, we had 2611. Sets had to be dismantled. When we re-put up the sets again, Shah Rukh had a major accident. Then when he got well and he gave me dates again, Fardeen's father died. Then when we completed the film, I found that my partner, presenter, had sold the film to 3 different companies and run away with the money. Now, I couldn't put all that. The simplest thing was to make sure that I didn't release the film. Because all debts are settled on release. If there was no release, there'd be no film. But it didn't matter. The Shah Rukh Khan film gets released. So I talked to all those creditors. They knew it was not my fault, but they had faith. I said, I'll pay you after the release. Took me 7 years. I paid everyone off. I worked, I paid them, I sold some property, but today I'm debt free. And if you look at the film very carefully, it's a classic. It's damn good.
I was just reading one of your interviews. You mentioned that in all these years you went to Mannat only once. You've not met his children apparently. Shah Rukh's children apparently.
Now I've been to Mannat twice. Once when I signed him for Raju, I didn't sign him, there was no paperwork, but when I went to meet him to do the film, at that time he made me meet Aryan, who was very young, 12 years ago. So Aryan must have been 12 or 13 or 11. He was eating noodles, so I don't think he really cared at that point who I was. And then 4 years ago, when I went to Shah Rukh's birthday party, that's when I met Suhana. She was nice. Twice.
One more thought that I had, sir, and that is entirely objectively. So over the years, he has had many friends from the film industry who have sworn by him and worked with him repeatedly. But when it came to his tough times, none of them they really said anything publicly. And I've been observing your Twitter, for example. You've been very consistent in terms of voicing your opinion about him, whatever you felt. I think the way a friend would do it. Do you somehow feel that some relationships they transcend the business ideals, and some maybe the certain friendships they are fair weather friendships maybe, but I think certain friendships they are for keeps.
I think it goes beyond friendships into matters of principle. For heaven's sake, Aryan is a child. What were you all trying to do? He doesn't need to smuggle drugs. He doesn't need to do whatever you all were accusing him of. He's not a drug addict. And there is proof. Because anyone who's a drug addict, and if you will remember, Faridoon, my first serial, Nahi Disha, was about a drug addict, and I played the drug addict. I know everything there is to know about drug addicts. If the boy had been even remotely on drugs, then when they put him into isolation, when they put him into jail or whatever they did, there would have been running noses, there would have been fever, there would have been stomach aches, there would have been nausea, there would have been cold turkey, there would have been withdrawal symptoms, there would have been a whole bunch of things. Nothing. He sat. He didn't open his mouth. He sat quietly 2, 4, 6, 8 days. He sat without any symptoms. That's not proof enough. Now, when you know the boy is innocent, then it is up to you to shout from the rooftops that this boy is innocent. It has nothing to do with Shah Rukh. It has everything to do with the fact that today I am a teacher. I work with children. I'm the dean of a school. I have children in 6 campuses across the country, and each one of them is my child. And I will not allow injustice to children. It's a matter of principle. Had Shah Rukh and me been best buddies, talking to one another every day kind of situation, it would still have been the same. That I haven't met him for years, it's still the same. There's a child involved. And if we cannot stand up for children and those who are the future of our country tomorrow, then there's nothing to say after that.
So we saw how he defended Suhana in the entire Wankhede Stadium episode. When it comes to Aryan, he kept quiet. There was this visual when he went to the jail, and the way the entire, I think, photographers, the way they literally hounded him. It was a very sad visual for a mega star, and the way things happened over there. I've spoken to certain people, and their opinion, they have told me that he's very upset with the way media functioned, with the way the entire media trial happened about his son, and a lot of people, they were convinced that that he's actually guilty. But still, he's keeping a very studied and stoic silence somehow. Do you see a sense of hurt in him somewhere, that maybe the lack of ethics that have been displayed that have maybe hurt him?
I haven't seen it, but I know it. Anyone whose child is misbehaved with is going to be hurt and angry and upset. But he chose to swallow it for the sake of his child, because the most important thing was to not let it escalate. And he made one statement, 40 people would have made 40 other statements. So he didn't open his mouth. He made sure Aryan didn't open his mouth. And if you notice, neither Shah Rukh, nor Gauri, nor Aryan, nor Suhana, no one has opened their mouth yet. It's called grace, it's called dignity. So it's a lesson for all of us to learn what grace is, what dignity is. And that's what it is.
Finally, how do you look at his career from here on? He's having Jawan and Dunki right now. This year, that is 2023. And the entire trade is super thrilled about both the films, that they're going to take like a bumper opening. Atlee is a fantastic, and I think big screen director. Rajkumar Hirani, we all know what he's all about. Do you feel it is Shah Rukh Khan 2.0 from here on?
Depends on the strategies, no? Yash Raj's strategy was very clear. They went very wide. And more than 30% of the cinemas playing Pathan were single screen, non-AC theaters with ticket prices of less than 100 rupees. A big film like that normally doesn't go there. If the film is playing in Navrang Andheri for 60 rupees, why would I spend 300 rupees going to INOX or IMAX or PVR? So the strategy of distribution was give them the expensive tickets and the recliners, give them 3D and IMAX. Also give them Bharat Kurla, also give them Kasturba Malad, also give them Gaiety and Galaxy, also give them Regal and New Excelsior. And I'm talking of Bombay, but I'm saying multiply that by an all India strategy. So the taxi driver could go in, the auto rickshaw driver could go in, the coolie from the railway station could go in. First factor. Second factor, because of the ticket rates, they could go twice. So when you create a strategy where an audience can go inside a cinema and repeat value happens, that's when you know you're going to have a hit. So it does not have too much to do with the merits of the film. It will have everything to do with the distribution strategy, the release dates, the other films around. Now, today, the moment I saw the ticket rates, and the moment I saw Wednesday, Thursday, Republic Day, and then the weekend, 5 days, the first thing I would have done would be to shift Selfie and Shehzada by a month. One, they don't have the money. They spent all their money on Pathan, they can't go in. It's a country where 95% of the people are below the minimum income tax level, right? Secondly, they've seen the film twice. They're full. Thirdly, Shah Rukh and Salman have said, बच्चों के हाथ में नहीं दे सकते हैं यार. They've said it. So psychologically, यार बच्चे आ रहे हैं नहीं देखना. Nobody is understanding how to run this business anymore. It's scary. So I teach all this to my students. I'm building a whole generation of producers, directors, distributors, exhibitors who know their business. But it's surprising that the biggest businessmen in the industry are sitting gap. Nobody seems to understand the key is the ticket price. Because at 500 rupees, 3 people is 1500. For 1500, I can get a whole month subscription to 14 channels and watch it. And during COVID, we all lost jobs, we lost money, we lost businesses. We're not going to spend it unnecessarily anymore. Especially not because your lobby is fancy and because you have neon lights coming out from under the seats. It's not going to work. I'm going to see the film if it's big enough for the cinema. But if it's a good film, I will see it on OTT. OTT has given me choices which I'm using. And for producers, I think it's a great thing because we were losing the OTT audience to pirates. We were losing the OTT audience to pirated DVDs. We were losing the taxi drivers and the coolies and the auto rickshaw drivers and the farm workers and the laborers to video parlors in their chawls. That money, which was being drained from the producer's pocket, not the multiplex's pocket, is coming back to the producer. So today the producer is sitting and saying, audiences have allowed us to make movies. We may not come to the cinema anymore. You follow your move.
So one last question. GP Sippy Saab apparently told you that Shah Rukh Khan does not look like a hero material. He doesn't look like a hero. Juhi Chawla said that when you told her that he's someone who looks like Amir Khan, and you said that, and she said that from where
I told her he's fabulous. He's better looking than Amir Khan. I didn't say he looks like Amir Khan.
Okay. And she said that he doesn't look anything close to Amir Khan. And now, when you see that this man, the sort of craze that he has overseas, for example, like we've already discussed India, multiplex and single screens. This film has done close to $50 million in the overseas market, $45 million to $50 million. It has created records in Gulf, UK, North America, everywhere. It has created huge records. And the sort of popularity that he has even amongst people who are not South Asians. Do you in a way find it baffling? What do you attribute it to? Many people have told me that they really like his interviews, the way he talks. What do you attribute this sort of
I think
craze
good
and
looks,
success?
charm. Juhi forgot one thing. Shah Rukh Khan. GP Sippy forgot one thing about Shah Rukh Khan. There is charm. He seduces you. When she saw Shah Rukh, Juhi, she said, oh, but when she met him and she talked to him and she felt the charm, They did 8 movies together. They became partners. They're still partners in the cricket team. And after Ramesh Sippy and GP Sippy saying his hair is like a bear and all that, it was Ramesh Sippy who took him in Zamana Diwana. So I stand vindicated. That charm is what audiences respond to. There is a likability in just watching him. It's a very rare quality. Rajesh Khanna had it. Rajesh Khanna was short and dumpy and had pimples, but he had charm. And that charm is a very rare, indefinable quality. The difference between Rajesh Khanna and Shah Rukh Khan is he knew how to use it. And he still does.
And he still does, absolutely. Vivek sir, absolutely wonderful talking to you. Thank you very much for your time. And please take care and all the best wishes. Would love to talk to you again as well.